Kellen Moore, Boise State quarterback 2008 to 2011, earned the starting bid as a true freshman and never looked back. Four-time first-team All-American, Heisman Trophy finalist 2010, and three-time Conference Athlete of the Year. This is his third time on the Hall of Fame ballot since becoming eligible in 2021, and we're going to talk about that today. Welcome, Bronco Nation, to another exciting video. Apologize that it's been a second since I've done one. I'll talk about that at the end. I've got a bunch of exciting announcements at the end of this video, so make sure you watch all the way through. But today we're going to be talking about Kellen Moore and his bid here to get into the Collegiate Hall of Fame, this 2024 class. He's been on the ballot, like I said, twice before. This is his third time on it. We'll talk about what's happened, some of the things that have kept him out of the ballot so far. Not necessarily reasons, but some of the players selected prior to him. And then we'll talk about some of the reason criteria that he should be selected. We'll talk about this class, this 2024 college quarterback class that he's going up against, but why Kellen Moore should be the one selected on this ballot. Hands down, I mean, they select two quarterbacks, but he should be one of them. We're talking about all those reasons today in this video. Now, if you want to get a perspective of some of the reasons why he hasn't been selected so far, I know that BJ Rains just did a video this morning talking all about that on his channel, Bronco Nation News. I'll put a link to that in the descriptions. Not sponsored or anything, but BJ does the best job out of anybody. So make sure you watch that discussion. It's going to be a fantastic discussion, I'm sure. Definitely one I'm going to watch once I finish this video. I saw it on Twitter before I jumped on. I want to make sure I mentioned it. All right, so eligibility. What do you have to do to be in the Hall of Fame? Well, obviously, besides being a collegiate quarterback, you have to have been 2 full seasons after your last year playing college football. So Moore, 2011 versus Arizona State in the Las Vegas Bowl. That was his last game, his last year, 2011. So he became eligible after the 2021 season. Must have played within the last 50 years. So since 1974, no issues there. Kellen Moore, not that old. Eligible after retiring from professional football. Kellen Moore retired as a player in 2018 after stints as backups with the Lions and the Cowboys. So, like we said, this is his third year. What happened the first year? Well, the first year, 2022, 2 quarterbacks selected, Moore not among them. Toledo quarterback Chuck Ely and Stanford quarterback Andrew Luck. Now, I don't have an issue with Chuck Ely, 35-0 as a starter. Multiple school records. He definitely deserved to be in. If you go 35-0, you never lose a game in college football. You absolutely deserve to be in the Collegiate Hall of Fame. No qualms there. However, Andrew Luck, while a great quarterback who definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame at some point, should not have been selected over Kellen Moore. They both played at the same time, 31-7 as a player. He holds multiple school records, but his impact on the game, I would argue, was not as global, as dramatic. What Kellen Moore did, we will talk about that later, what Kellen Moore did to change the game of college football, in addition to his amazing stats, in which, by the way, he outranked Andrew Luck in passing and touchdowns while he was playing for Boise State. So definitely deserved to be in there over Andrew Luck. Major injustice there. The second year, though, was even more of an injustice, 2023. 2 quarterbacks again selected. One of them I'm not going to argue with at all. Tim Tebow, Florida, Heisman winner, incredible story on and off the field. Definitely deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't argue with that pick at all. However, Michael Bishop, Kansas State, that is a very questionable one for me. 22-3 as a starter for the 2 years that he played. He played 2 years, multiple conference and school records during that time, but I think really he was selected because of his influence with Bill Snyder, who was selected as a Hall of Fame coach. I think that incorporated into the decision to elevate him over a player like Kellen Moore, who served full 4 years in college football and made a much more major impact, I would say, overall. However, 2024 is a chance to get in again. Third time's a charm, as they say. Time for Kellen Moore to make his way here into the ballot, into the final selectees, because he definitely deserves to know. Let's look at this class overall. Who's he going up against? There's a couple of tough ones in here. You know, it's a pretty large class. You got Pittsburgh, Matt Kavanaugh, no school or conference records to speak of. Kentucky University, Tim Couch. He definitely worries me because he set 7 NCAA records, 14 conference, 26 school records. He was a major player in the game, so definitely worry a little bit about him potentially. Miami quarterback Ken Dorsey, multiple school records. Texas Tech University, Graham Harrell, 7 NCAA records. Oklahoma University, Josh Huppel, school record holders. Washington State University, Ryan Leaf, multiple school records. Indiana quarterback Atwan Randall holds the NCAA rushing record for a quarterback. Whether that should be considered when you're talking about a quarterback position. You know, it's impressive, but not necessarily the impact in the quarterback position. So, you know, Utah, Alex Smith, school record holder, and Virginia Tech, Michael Vick, only lost 1 conference game. He's definitely a contender for me. Obviously, Michael Vick, while he didn't necessarily break all the major records out there in college football, his style of play revolutionized the game. He was one of the most exciting players to watch, both in the college and the professional level. So he definitely is. So I'd say of those 2, Couch and Vick are definitely 2 of the players that I would say threaten more the most for this. However, Moore should definitely get it over any of those guys. And we're going to talk about that right now. So why Kellen Moore? So what they look at when they talk about criteria for going into the Hall of Fame is two major areas. The first one, which is the primary focus, is your collegiate accomplishments, which we'll talk about here in a second. The second one is your post-college career, what you've done as a human being, your impact on the game, and also off the field. So we'll talk a little bit about both of those, but the first one, talking about the collegiate impact. Kellen Moore, school leader in passing. He's got the statistics, 14,667 yards, still top 10 in the NCAA, by the way, even after all these years, number 6 overall, 142 career touchdowns, still good for second overall in the NCAA right now. He led Boise State to back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, including his first as a true freshman in 2008. He won the 2010 Fiesta Bowl versus TCU, 50-3 all-time record holder, which included only losses against TCU in 2008 in the Poinsettia Bowl, Nevada, we won't talk about that, but that was in 2010, and then 2011 again versus TCU. So only lost 3 times and only lost to 2 teams in the entire 4 years that he was playing against in college football. Now, a lot of people like to say, not just against Kellen Moore, but against Boise State in general, that's because he wasn't playing anybody. Well, first off, that's not true. You know, he was playing in the WAC of the Mountain West, which had some competitive teams, but throughout the entire time that he was playing college football, he played against some tough competition, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. You have to go out there and compete every day. We see upsets all the time where teams are not able to stay focused and they get upset by teams that they shouldn't. So the fact that Kellen Moore was able to keep this team focused every single game that he went out and played and win almost every single one of them is impressive. And you look at the wins that he had outside of the conference, they justify the wins inside the conference. He did not step down from major competition. 2 Power 5 conference champions defeated under Kellen Moore. Oregon in 2009 and Virginia Tech in 2010 defeated division champion from the SEC in Georgia, and 3 Power 5 conferences throughout Pac-12, ACC, SEC wins against 3 of them. 6 Power 5 wins, 8 if you count teams that went on to the Power 5 shortly after Boise State beat them. So Utah in 2010, Utah in 2010, and then TCU, of course, leaving shortly after that in 2012 to go join the Big 12. 8 top 20 team wins, and he led Boise State to the highest ranking of school history and the highest ranking of a group of 5 up to that point at the number 2 slot. All of these statistical accomplishments are certainly impressive, and on their face value alone deserve to guarantee Kellen Moore a slot in this 2024 class. But we're going to talk about a couple other things here. First off, post-collegiate career, which, like I said, was part of the considerations. Well, yes, he did play in the NFL, Detroit and Dallas as a backup, actually netting at the time the 6th most passing yards all time in a single game while backing up for Dallas. Playing against the Washington Redskins, he put up 435 yards, which prior to Dak Prescott coming onto the scene was the 6th most yards ever put up in a single game by a quarterback starting for the Dallas Cowboys. If not for an ankle injury in 2016, he very well may have gone on to be the starter for the Dallas Cowboys. In 2016, he was the second string backup behind Tony Romo. Fortunately, he took an ankle injury, which he broke and ended up keeping out for the rest of the year. Dak Prescott was the third string quarterback that year. He stepped up in the second spot. Tony Romo got a back injury. Dak Prescott stepped up, and that was history after that. Dak Prescott took over. Tony Romo ended up retiring, and what we know from modern Dallas Cowboys happened after that point. But it just as easily, potentially, could have been Kellen Moore. Like I said, 435 yards versus Washington, and that was with most of the backup wide receivers and tight ends in for Dallas, going up against the starters there for Washington. So Kellen Moore definitely had potential, didn't end up getting the opportunity to show it off due to some injuries, but after a player career, he has done an incredible job at the coordinator position. NFL offensive coordinator extraordinaire, one of the youngest offensive coordinators in the game, youngest at the time. He caught the eyes of the league with his creative and explosive offense, which is rated in the top 5 of most offensive categories. And he also set franchise records for points scored, now going, of course, now with the Chargers. So Kellen Moore has done multiple things. He also has given back to the community with his Kellen Moore Passing Academy, which he ran for many years, in addition to the multiple volunteer efforts and works that all Boise State players do while part of the program. So Kellen Moore, definitely deserves to be part of this Hall of Fame class, both on his statistical performance and his post-NFL career. But the biggest reasons why Kellen Moore deserves to be in this Hall of Fame class go beyond just the statistics that he put on the field. He fundamentally changed the game that we know as FBS level college football. He revolutionized it. He challenged the concept of the haves and the have-nots. There was this idea that, if you were part of the Power Five, you're part of the Group of Five, which weren't at that point completely put into terms, but the haves and the have-nots. You were part of the big leagues or the small leagues, and there wasn't much shifting in between there. What Boise State did under Kellen Moore, being considered for the national championship in the top 5 rankings, coming into the country in 2010 in the top 5 in the country, knocking off Power 5 conference champions. They proved that it doesn't matter where you play. It doesn't matter what conference you're in. And it doesn't matter how well you're recruited. But Kellen Moore, undersized, broke all the molds. Undersized, lefty, under-recruited, comes in true freshman year, beats a top 25 Oregon team, goes undefeated, and ends up bringing Boise State, not just, they were in the national prominence at that point, of course, the Fiesta Bowl win versus Oklahoma put Boise State on the map, but this cemented Boise State as a team outside of the Group of Five, a team that was coexisting with the top teams in the countries. This wasn't just a team that you were looking at and saying like, oh, they have an outside shot of getting there. This was a team that you looked at as a top contender every single year that Kellen Moore was with this program. He revolutionized the game of football. He upended the entire system, the BCS system that had been in place. There were smoldering ideas about changing it. But what Kellen Moore did with Boise State, putting them in a spot where they said, look at us, we deserve to be in a position to contend for the national championship. We deserve to be part of this conversation. We deserve to have a chance in a playoff style system to get to the national game. Boise State stoked the embers into a raging firestorm, and it was shortly after Kellen Moore left that the playoff committee was installed, that the modern college football playoff system was put in place. Now, when you talk about major impact on the game of college football, that should put a player in the Hall of Fame. No other quarterback that I listed of those players that are on the list or of the quarterbacks that have been selected ahead of him have done what Kellen Moore has done to change the game. Of course, there were other factors. Of course, he wasn't the first player, the first team to make a case for expanding the playoff system. And of course, that idea was out there beforehand. But what Kellen Moore did at the time, ending up on the cover of Sports Illustrated as one of the top players in the league, Boise State made the case that the Group of Five deserved to be in this conversation, that this idea of stratification of college football was wrong, and that teams outside of the supposed halves of college football could get their way to the top and achieve high levels of success even without the recruiting, even without the finances, even without the national exposure at the time. He brought awareness to the Group of Five, college football in general. He became a household name. He broke the mold, and he fundamentally changed the way that college football was approached as a game, moving from the BCS to the college football playoff system. Aside from all of that, though, aside from his statistical performance on the field, aside from what he did post-college career, aside from what he did to change the game of football, the number one reason why Kellen Moore deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, the reason why he should have gotten it the first time he was on the ballot, is because he went 50-3 as a starter. He's the all-time winningest quarterback in the game of college football. That is what college football is all about. At the end of the day, no matter the trophies, no matter the standings, no matter the rankings, what college football fundamentally is about as a game is winning. It's fundamentally about going out, controlling what you can control, winning against the teams that are on your schedule, and finding success. Kellen Moore did that. 50-3 as a starter. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for every other reason that I said, but primarily and most importantly overall, the fact that you don't have the best player to play the game of college football. So when you look at the performance numbers, when you look at what it comes down to fundamentally winning, he won more games than any player. Now, there's other ways that you can look at success and who's the best player in college football. I'm not saying that he was the most talented player. Obviously, he didn't get drafted, and he didn't end up in playing as a starter in the NFL. So he obviously wasn't the most talented player out there. But when you talk about success, when you talk about impact on the game, winning the games that are in front of you, 50-3 as a starter, that deserves a claim at the title of best player in the game of college football, because he went out and he did best what was put in front of him, better than anybody that's playing at the time, better than Andrew Luck, better than anybody that's come since. Nobody has stuck around and played and won the games that Kellen Moore did while a starter for Boise State. Kellen Moore deserves, if you are a Hall of Fame ballot and you can, a link is in the description. I'll put a screenshot right now where you need to go. It's pretty simple. You go make a small donation to the College Football Hall of Fame, and you can go and you can vote for Kellen Moore to be in the Hall of Fame. And I absolutely implore you, if you're already a voter right now, or if you're going through this process of going voting, that you select Kellen Moore, because it is a major injustice that the winningest player in the game of college football, who fundamentally changed the way that we approach the game, has not yet made it into the Hall of Fame. Thanks so much for watching this video. I'm excited about the future here for Boise State. I'm excited about hopefully being able to celebrate the rest of Bronco Nation when Kellen Moore gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like I said, I had a couple of exciting announcements. So number one, the reason why I haven't made a video in a while is because of this. Yes, that is my newborn son, my future co-host, my future co-anchor here on the Bronco Blameyer channel. Very, very excited that you can actually see him right now with me, helping me write the video that I did here today. So thank you so much for the congratulations that I've already received on Twitter and Facebook and the support that I've gotten. We're excited about his future, just as we're excited about Boise State's future. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed here, I'll be doing everything that's in my power to ensure that he becomes a future player here on the blue for Boise State. Second announcement here, though, is that I also am going to be coming up to the UCF game. I'm incredibly excited. It's working out with my time schedule and my leave to be able to come up to the Boise State versus UCF game that second week there. So make sure you keep an eye out on me. I'll be wearing my shirt. I'll be walking around. I had a great time meeting so many of you last time, both in the stands and in the tailgating. I'm going to do a little bit something like that again, coming around, trying to get as many photos as I can with you, getting to soak up as much of that Boise State Bronco Nation atmosphere as I can, because that's what I live on, and getting to do that last time was an absolute blast. So I'm going to be coming up for the game, so make sure you keep an eye out for me. And then also the Boise State preview series that I did last year, I'm doing that again. I'm not going through every position group like I did last time, because that was a major time commitment. I'm bringing it up a little bit this time, a little more truncated. I think it'll be a little easier to consume as well. Just going to do an offense, defense, special teams. Going to have former players, special guests coming on. Hopefully be doing the offensive preview here in a couple of weeks with a major announcement on that coming soon. So thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I am only like 50 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers. Kind of fluctuates a little bit between like 948 and 950. Comes back up and down. It doesn't help that I haven't made a video in about a month, but I am this close to that major milestone, that 1,000 subscribers, at which point YouTube allows you to start making money on the ads that they force you to put on your channel anyway. So this would be a major impact for me, my family, my newborn son here, and us as we continue to work towards trying to promote and build up Boise State. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and as always, go Big Blue!